Can't have the music on it.
I know, I was just about to pause it. Just give me a second. I have to wait for the thing to come up.
To wait for the thing to come up. So this is our new feature, which is driving home review double feature. Because we've worked out cost effective wise, coming down and just spending one lot of petrol and seeing 2 films. Also 2 films a month makes that unlimited cards worth keeping. And we figured at least 1 Saturday a month or 1 Sunday a month seeing 2 films will actually work out. So that's good. The only thing we stop wasting money now is actually go to the gym we pay for. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. So today's double bill is first one,
Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods.
And Scream 6. It's really dark tonight. Ooh, no, not that dark. So yes, okay, let's say now that we will probably go into spoiler territory.
Definitely.
Easily. And let's initially talk about Shazam.
Why were you doing Sean Connery just then?
No, it was supposed to be, it did come with Sean Connery, but it was supposed to be David Blaine on Bo Selector.
Okay.
It's all because of the magic. Shazam.
Yeah,
But
right,
yeah,
sure.
it's not coming out. Yeah, anyway, so let's move on from that travesty. I just found it okay. It's one of those things where I would say, yeah, it was on. It just, I don't know. I mean, we had food between films, and I was saying, for me, the thing was the conceit of the boy turning into the man is gone, because the actor playing the boy, they set the character at about to turn 18 for one thing, and I'd imagine he's probably about 21 in real life or something. So the conceit isn't there, and then it was obviously scripted. I'm guessing it's been a COVID delay, and it just seems scripted that when he goes up into the Zach Levy?
Yes.
Is that his name?
Zachary Levi.
Yeah, character. His script was dumbed down to child, but then he wasn't actually a child when he was his other persona. So
he became more immature as Shazam.
And it just the whole thing just jarred for me, and I was just like, and then it was just, I think as you said, incredibly superhero formula.
Yes.
So yeah, I didn't hate it. It was on. I just didn't love it either.
I will say, loved both Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu as the 2 older daughters of Atlas.
I just felt slumming it a bit. I'm like, do you need the money, Helen? What's going on, love?
I think she just enjoys doing that sort of stuff, because I've seen Graham Norton interviews where she says she loves doing action movies,
Right.
because they're fun. They're not acting, they are just her having fun.
Yeah.
And I think she's at obviously the age and stage of her career now where she can do that.
There was something in her, like her left eye looked like there was a blob on her eyelash for a number of scenes, and I couldn't work out if she had a cataract operation halfway through or something.
Bad makeup.
Or is it just? Yeah, I know. It was one of those, like, you know, like a wart or a mole. Once you see it, you can't not stare at it. And I was just like constantly. And then it's got 2 credit sequences, and to be fair, it's all about setting up the DCU that we now know is pretty much junked, which I just thought is, oh, these are pointless, and I didn't really understand one of them anyway. With the little worm thing, as I said to him a little while ago, I just expected to go, come inside and meet the missus, and it didn't. A sequel to Labyrinth, I'd be very interested in if it was done well by the Henson Company. Another Shazam film, not so much. And there was something else about to say about Shazam. Oh yeah, and I just thought it was funny. They did this whole, he has this. It's a dream, isn't it? Where he's having dinner with Wonder Woman in Paris, and you never see her face. It's always like she even turns round, and the camera switches at that point, so you're always looking at the back of her head. So it's like, they didn't really get her in. And at that point, I thought, oh, I bet this is like when Farscape brought Zan back in, that crazy one about the game, and it wasn't Zan for the first couple of scenes, and then in the final scene he cuts open the sword and actually Virginia Hay appears. I thought it's going to be one of them. We're all supposed to think that, oh, she's not in this and that's really cheap and shit, and she suddenly will appear, and she did. So yeah, it was just a bit of an absolute average all round for me.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it as just a pure popcorn flick.
We've got lens flare, by the way. We're like a proper J.J.
Oh,
Abrams.
wow. Go us. But yeah, I mean, it's really mentioned as a superhero movie, very formulaic. You can absolutely tell the story beats coming from a mile off. But I just enjoyed watching Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu chew up the scenery as the absolute villains that they were meant to be.
I did spend a couple of minutes near the start of the film trying to work Helen Mirren into Independent Woman at the beginning. Like Lucy Liu with my girl Helen, and it was like, and I was probably...
It's ironic given they do make a reference to Destiny's Child in the movie.
Yeah, true. Actually, I didn't thought that. But I did lose probably about 5 minutes of the film trying to do that. Just trying to work out ways to make it a thing. And like the whole Anna thing, like you said straight away, well, she's obviously the bad, just like, I think. So did you think it was, for that, more or less than Scream 6?
I liked it more than Scream 6.
Yeah, we need to have a conversation about that. I cannot say the same thing, I have to say. I absolutely cannot say the same thing, because I loved Scream 6. I'm a massive fan of the Scream franchise generally. I was, 24 when the first one came out?
I mean, you haven't seen my
25
check-in post, have you?
No.
Yeah, so my reaction to Scream 6 and my opinion of Scream 6 versus Shazam would come as no surprise to you if you had seen my post.
Yeah, you know my phone's been off, saving my battery for the camera. Okay. So Scream 6, first one came out in 97. I was working at Cineworld. I started there in the summer of 96 and left in the autumn of 97, so it must have been 97. So I was 25, there we are, 25 coming on 26. So I was absolutely bob on demographic when that film came out, as you would have been.
Yes.
And it just did something so completely new and fresh with the genre. It blew me away. And then I thought, when they then developed that into the rules of the sequel and then the rules of a trilogy, the third one was definitely the weaker of those three. But I have a very fond place in my heart for all three movies. So when they then, 10, 11 years later did 4, and then another almost another 10 years after that, another 10 years after that did 5, and then 6 a year on, I think it's just been interesting where they've taken them. So 1, 2 and 3 I can remember very clearly. I've seen them multiple times. 4, 5 and 6 I've kind of watched each one at the cinema, and that's been it. I've not rewatched them. I probably will at some point.
I can smell bacon.
I just smell like... we have got bacon in the boot.
I don't think it's that good. It smells like cooked bacon.
Yeah, it's got that. So a lot of the carrying on between 4, 5 and 6 I don't necessarily remember, because I have only watched each one the once. I might have watched Scream 4 one other time on DVD, but again, you're talking 2011, 2012. I don't remember it from that long ago. But I was loving every second of Scream 6. It did exactly what a good Scream film should do, and it just fucked about with the format from start to finish. Moved it out to the big city, big change there. Fucked about with the beginning format of the way the killers work, which I thought was amazing. So you get a fake out. It's a real murder, but it's a fake out killer, and then moves into the real killer. So I was loving that as an addition. And then I just think it played with the whole we're now a franchise thing beautifully. Right down to the post-credit sequence, which I think's glorious. And
yeah, that we won't spoil.
No, we won't spoil that. Because I always use aftercredits.com to check whether we need to stay for something, and it said yes, there is something at the end of the credits, and people can vote whether it's worth staying for, up and down, and it was voted down to -8, and we were like, oh my god, it's really going to be crap. And then we saw it and we were like, it's one of the best post-credit sequences we think we've ever seen in a movie. We love it. Maybe that's just our sense of humour though.
100%.
Different opinions this time around. I would say go see Scream, don't bother with Shazam, and you'd probably say it the other way around.
I would absolutely say. Oh, to be fair, because again, like I was saying to you, my issue with the Scream 6 isn't because it's like a bad movie necessarily. I mean, the cast are excellent. Obviously, it's great seeing sort of up and coming stars like Jenna Ortega. Again, absolutely nailing it.
I did. I was.
Are you going to speed up?
There was a Halloween party at one point, and there was a character dressed as Wednesday Addams, and I was desperate for her to turn around and it'd be Jenny Ortega, and it wasn't. It was just a random extra. But I was like, please, should we turn this off while we're on the motorway?
Yeah,
if we don't.
Let me know. Just press it up. No, just press the actual thing up. No, press the actual thing up.
I've still got no idea what I did.
You didn't. I turned it off.
Oh.
You pressed the light.
Oh. So why have a switch if you've got to press the light?
Because that determines whether it comes on or off when you open the doors.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So God knows what you've done with it now.
It's in the middle position, whatever that will be.
Probably turn it off in that case.
Yeah, probably. Oh.
We'll worry about it later.
Okay, and now we get stretched with no bastard lights anyway.
You should have just left it on.
Yeah, maybe. I was just trying to, because it was like the motorway lights look quite bright.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going for.
So as I was saying,
as you were saying.
Before someone took us on a tangent, it's not a bad movie. Was he a movie?
Do you want a movie? Did you want a movie?
Yeah, it is a good cast. It is well acted.
I'm going to move that over there so I can hold it steadier.
The issue for me is that I'm not a fan of slasher movies. With the best of the world, I do tend to find them formulaic. It's why I loved Scream, because as Paul's already kind of mentioned, so I won't relitigate, it played with that genre, but Scream has basically become a parody of itself as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there were plenty of times during the movie where I was leaning over and just going, all I can think of at this point is like Scary Movie. But there were just so many scenes in there, and it's just like, yeah, Scary Movie actually did a piss take of that and did it so much better. Plus, there are inevitable scenes where you're just like, why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing something that a rational person would probably do in that kind of scenario? So there is a lot of contrivance, and this is set up to do this because the script requires it to be done this way. But yeah, as I say, if you like slasher movies, if you've enjoyed the previous Scream movies, you should absolutely go and see this at cinema, because you will get a lot more out of it than I did. And that's what I really wanted to add to that.
And I just thought it was awesome and loved it, and it just ticked every box for me. But you say about it's become a parody, but by its very nature, going on from a first Scream film, it would have to. That's the actual DNA of the Scream franchise. So you could never have gone beyond a couple of films without it becoming wrapped in its own logic and self-referential and then borderline parody. But when you've got, like you say, the Scary Movies, which are out and out parody comedy, and this is still retaining the, because there was bits in this film, my heart was beating out my chest. I was just like, oh my god, I've not been this tense in a film for years.
Whereas I wasn't like that.
Oh god, I was so into it. But yeah, so like I was saying earlier, moving the convention, like moving it to New York and what have you, it just really worked for me. I don't know. Will they do a 7? Who the fuck knows?
If this makes enough money, they will absolutely do a 7.
I think the Scream films is I've got no issue with them keeping going as long as they retain their sensibility of what the Scream films are. When they start just turning into a Friday the 13th or a Chainsaw Massacre, you know what I mean? It's just at that point, no. But yeah, so that was it really. So yeah, I think it's been quite rare that we have vastly different opinions on a movie. I'm sure it must have happened before, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
There's a few. I can't think of any specific ones. I like Valerian. You hate Valerian.
Yeah, but we haven't reviewed Valerian. I'm thinking of things we've reviewed.
True.
There are plenty of films we have different opinions on. But, we should like do some of our home reviews on just some old movies and some classic things.
Yeah.
We could do Romeo and Michelle, because you know I can always talk about Romeo and Michelle.
Yeah, but that will just turn into you basically quoting Romeo and Michelle for the entire length of the movie.
I don't see a problem with this.
At that point, I'd rather people watch the movie.
Yeah, watch the movie. And I hope your babies look like monkeys.
Let's film Sky.